I hope you're ready for a great, great, great show. Today, on this episode of Flock Nation Speaks, your favorite Baltimore Ravens podcast that talks about the best team in NFL history, the Ravens fan, of course. We talking, of course, Lamar Jackson, but you know what I mean. We talking the top 20 wide receiver duels, and can the Ravens find a way to get their duo, their new look duo, into that discussion? But also, another topic that we cannot forget is this offense. Something that a criticism that possibly we didn't hear on draft night. More to come right after this. This is Fly Nation Speaks. Get your popcorn, get your drink, get your snacks, and be ready, because we're going to discuss. All right, welcome into Flock Nation Speaks. Flock Nation Speaks. Flock Nation Speaks, your Baltimore Ravens podcast, where we talk about the best team in NFL history. If you're a Ravens fan, I am a huge Joe Flacco Wise fan. Usher once said, situations will arise in our lives. I'm talking about shut down. Like you're not throwing on Jimmy Smith. Joe is criminally underrated. Criminally, lock him up in cuffs. Criminally underrated. Lamar's put this team as a top 5 offense for the first time in 20 years. Got the arm talent. Jay Cutler had it too. I don't care about this argument against total TDs and all this. Oh, you want to talk about defense? Oh, until next time. All right, what is going on, good people? DJ here, your host, back at it again for Flock Nation Speaks, your Baltimore Ravens podcast, where we talk about the best team in NFL history. If you're a Ravens fan, of course. Look, let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it today. I'm excited for this show, man. I really do. I love the discussions and the topics and the takes that come out on like social media and Instagram and Twitter and all. I guess I could have just said social media left it there. But anyway, I love the topics and the takes and stuff that come out because there's so much discussion to be had, right? There is so much discussion to be had. And it's interesting because as I was watching the draft last week, it wasn't last week, a couple weeks ago, I saw something come out. And actually, it was during the draft. It was after Zay Flowers became the newest Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, a guy that we look to make a huge impact, probably from day one, let's be honest, especially on this Todd Monken offense, a guy who uses his players to their highest of potential. He going to use his best receivers in the best way possible, and he going to even use Patrick Ricard exactly where Patrick Ricard needs to be used. But it's funny because Steve Smith, guy, I as a receiver, I love Steve Smith, right? I respect Steve Smith. He's one of my favorite Ravens wide receivers of all time. Steve Smith decided that he had something to say to Rashad Bateman. And I feel like some of us might have missed this because I didn't see. Like, here's the thing about this. The thing about this take, this thought process, this opinion that Steve Smith gave, I don't think a lot of us saw it. I think it kind of went over our head a little bit because Steve Smith, like I said, I respect Steve Smith so much as a receiver. He was a small guy, but he was tough. He was gritty. He would go over the middle. He would, Steve Smith was not a guy you wanted to pick on, right? Steve Smith was not that receiver to play with. And I love Steve Smith for that reason. Even the Steve Smith that we ended up getting, I think Steve Smith was better as a Raven than people think about, but he had to, there was some injuries. He was late in the back end of his career, right? So I don't even think we truly got to see the potential of Steve Smith. So when Steve Smith talks, we listen. I listen at least, right? I don't know about y'all, but I listen. When Steve Smith talks, I listen. And that's why I'm so high on a guy like Jonathan Mingo. That's why I'm high on a guy like Zay Flowers, right? That's why, when he talks about Jackson Smith and Jigma and Jalen Hyatt and these guys, like, I listen. When he talks about Tank Dell, like, I listen to what he has to say because I know his football IQ and why his football IQ and wide receiver IQ is top notch. It's top notch, right? We know this. We know this guy. He played the game at high level, Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, and we know, like when he talks, we listen. Yeah, when he talks, we listen, right? But did y'all catch this? We're gonna listen in. We're gonna listen in to this video that LJ Season on Twitter put out. Just a little clip from the coverage of the draft. We're gonna listen to it, and was there a little shade thrown here to one Rashad Bateman? Let's listen.
Oh, I love Zay Flowers. Look, cheap plug. You can go to Cut to It and see it. See it on my podcast. I really love Zay Flowers. He's a young guy, right? Got the fresh legs. But he came into Boston College and he's coming into the league, and people are believing that he's a slot receiver. He's not a slot receiver. He can play all over the football field. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. His balance, his control, also his releases. And then we talk about shorter guys, his catch rate is. What Zay Flowers is a football player.
Yeah.
And you add that to Odell Beckham. Bateman's going to have to hey, Bateman, Zay Flowers goes across the middle.
Yeah.
Right? Odell Beckham goes across the middle. So sometimes you got to realize, you may think that you're the high price cow in the barn or in the farm.
Step up, man.
Step up or get stepped out.
Yeah.
So this immediately caught my attention. It did, because first things first, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I'm tired of Rashad Bateman slander, right? A guy who hasn't even been able to see the field enough to even prove what he can do, but has shown potential and flashes every time he's on the field. They say Rashad Bateman doesn't like to go across the middle. Well, he's an outside receiver, right? Like by trade, at least. So, there may not be as many opportunities for him to go into the middle of the field between the numbers and all that. But at the same time, I've seen plenty of the clip of him beating Xavier Howard with beautiful route running and technique, getting past him on a slant and running past everybody. Like, are we saying this because Rashad Bateman doesn't really take a lot of hits? Are we saying because the funny part about this is, right? The funny part about this is nobody brought this criticism up about Hollywood Brown, right? Hollywood Brown was not a guy who took a lot of hits. He would catch the ball. If he did catch it in the middle of the field, he would catch the ball and get down, right? He would catch the ball and hop out of bounds. Nobody had this criticism about Hollywood Brown. And, different players play different ways. However you got to keep yourself safe, and you do it. All right, that's how I feel about that. But I think on the other hand, though, I don't agree with this criticism from Steve Smith, because I don't feel like Rashad Bateman purposefully doesn't go across the middle. I don't even know if there has been a good enough scheme to even showcase if Rashad Bateman can go across the middle. But here's the thing about it, because, Rashad Bateman in his rookie year was a first down machine. Like, it felt like every play that he got was at least a first down, right? Every reception he got was at least a first down. And then you take it to last year, Rashad Bateman was the top receiver, probably in a group of guys where he should be the top receiver, but he was far and away the top receiver. He showed so many flashes, so much potential. And I know they had the Devin Duvernay is the number one guy. I know, because Devin Duvernay was playing well, right? Because Rashad Bateman was taking away top corners, which I feel like we sometimes forget, right? Rashad Bateman was the guy that people were keying in on outside of Mark Andrews because they had to, because he was a big play waiting to happen. So I don't necessarily agree with this take. I really don't. I don't agree with this take. I like I said, I respect what Steve Smith says. I probably agree with Steve Smith on a lot of things, but I don't like the Rashad Bateman slander, because I think, number one, let's give Rashad Bateman a chance to prove it first before we truly dig into this bag of, Rashad Bateman, he don't go across the middle. Rashad Bateman is not really a good receiver. I don't think we know that yet, right? We don't know if Rashad Bateman is a good receiver, and I'm excited to see Rashad Bateman with good coaching on the passing end and the receiving end to be able. I'm excited to see what that's going to showcase, right? I'm excited to see exactly what Rashad Bateman in an offense that is catered a little bit more to passing the ball, right? Catered a little bit more to getting guys open, catered a little bit more to getting those gimmies that we talk about all the time. I'm excited to see what Rashad Bateman will do this year. And I think if Rashad Bateman is healthy, Rashad Bateman will show a lot of people. I really do think. This is true. I think if Rashad Bateman is healthy, Rashad Bateman will prove a lot of people wrong who doubt Rashad Bateman. I think Rashad Bateman has a little chip on his shoulder. I really do. And I think a lot of his issues, was probably the worst strength and conditioning staff. Let me say that again. Say that 10 times fast. It was the worst strength and conditioning staff in the league. It's graded as such. So I think that's what hurt Rashad Bateman, not Rashad Bateman's inability on the field, right? It may have been his availability, but that has to coincide with certain other things too. Because not to mention Devin Duvernay, who hasn't really dealt with many injuries throughout his career, he gets hurt under this regime, right? Lamar Jackson, who hasn't dealt with many injuries under his career, whether it be his first 3 seasons or in college, it's a whole nother thing, right? So I think Rashad Bateman has a lot of potential. I'm excited to see what he's going to do, especially under a new system. I think that's what we got to kind of peek into this next season with, kind of some optimism and positivity, is the fact that this is a new system. This is something new. This is something that we haven't really seen from the Ravens. They're stepping out there and they're doing some things. To see him and Odell and Zay Flowers, and he, one thing that I like that he said, and I would tend to agree with too, is that Zay Flowers can play all over the field. The good part about Zay Flowers playing all over the field is you can put him in different spots. You can swap him and Bateman and where they are on the field. You can, shift him with Odell. He can play where Odell plays. If Odell needs a rest or something like that, you can put Zay Flowers with different people. But I think Rashad Bateman is the same way. I think if Rashad Bateman can get to 100%, and if Rashad Bateman can get, especially like his speed back, I think this wide receiving core has a chance to be dangerous. Going down to the second topic, I don't know who was it Pro Football Focus? Let's bring it up. I can't see it. All Sports Culture is who put this one out. The top 20 wide receiver duos. And I see an omission here. It's the Baltimore Ravens. But the top 20 wide receiver duos. Of course, you got Miami with Hill and Waddle. I mean, you can't. The definitely the fastest duo. You can't even really say anything wrong about them. Of course, you got the Bengals with Chase and Higgins, the Eagles with Brown and Devontae Smith. It's crazy how this league is though when you think about it. You got Goodwin and Evans on the Bucks. You got DK and Tyler Lockett, which I thought they grabbed another receiver that might step in that Tyler Lockett role. Who did they grab? Did they get Smith and Jigma? Was that them? I think it was them, because I think the Chargers was the ones that got Jalen Hyatt. I think I might be blanking on that one, but you got Hunter Renfrow and Devontae Adams on the Raiders. They put Jay Jettas, Justin Jefferson, which I know it's a nickname, but Justin Jefferson and Addison, Debo and Ayuk. You got CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. That's an interesting one, a new one for this year. Calvin Ridley, another new one, and Kirk. Is that Christian? Yeah, Christian Kirk. That's another new one for this year. Diggs and Davis for the Bills. Mike Thomas and Chris Olave for the Saints. Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson for the Rams. Terry McLaurin and Dotson. Sutton and Judy. Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. Lazard and Garrett Wilson. DJ Moore and Chase Claypool, another one of those the new duos. Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen and Williams. I don't know why I'm blanking on his first name. I know it all the time. Mike Williams. I think it's Mike, right? Yeah. And then Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Jameson Williams, another one of those young, new. We haven't really seen everything there is to see from them type duos. So my question becomes, and this is a question for y'all, and I might just sign off. I might not even say nothing about it. My question is, Rashad Bateman, OBJ, Can they get into the top 20? Let's even hope top 10, top 5 duos in the league, right? I think they can. I really do. I think they can. Like I said before, there's so much mystery and unknown when it comes to this offense. And to have Rashad Bateman and Odell as two guys who are new, you put Zay Flowers in there too. It could be, I don't know. Like, that's the tough part about it. Who would be the duo? Because I think all of them have potential to break out. All of them have potential to have really good games, really big games, really impactful games. So with that being said, I think they will. Right? I think the Ravens will break into that this year. I think the Ravens will have a top 10 wide receiver duo. I think this is going to be a big season for this offense. This Todd Monken-led offense, this offense we ain't never really seen before when it comes to for the Ravens at least. Right? We saw it with Cleveland. We saw it with Tampa Bay. Of course, we've seen it the last couple of years with Georgia and their national championships and stuff like that. I think this offense is it's just going to be appealing to the eye to a lot of Ravens fans, and I'm excited for it. Because I from what I've heard of Todd Monken, and I'll say this till I can't say it no more. He's a guy who is going to use everybody. He's going to use Mark Andrews is not going to be missing for targets, right? Odell's not going to be missing for targets. Rashad Bateman's not going to be missing for targets. Zay Flowers is going to get his in too. Devin Duvernay, however they got to use them, they're going to figure it out. So there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of potential, talent on that too. Of course, JK in the backfield, Gus Edwards in the backfield, right? Like, with this defense, I think there's a lot to be said. I think I'd probably say Higgins and Chase is probably the best duo out of the ones that's listed. Just because number one, you play them twice a year. I think Devonta Smith and AJ Brown is a good little duo too. I think Evans and Godwin are kind of falling back the last couple years, but that don't necessarily mean they're, they ain't what they used to be, and like that. I think a sneaky one is Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. I just don't think we really got to see it last year because the Raiders were just so underwhelming. But what y'all think? Can the Ravens join this top 20, maybe even top 10 wide receiver duos? What can they do it? Can they join it? They at least got the names. Right, I think they at least got the potential to join it, but can they actually join it this season? We'll see what happens. If Lamar Jackson hits his goal of throwing for 6,000 yards, and they're going to have to be a duo or a trio or what's a quattro? They're going to have to be something. A quad, that's a quad, right? Like they're going to have to be something. They're going to have to be some sort of something where you're like, okay, they in there. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But that's my question for y'all. Number one, do y'all agree with Steve Smith? Right? What y'all think? Right? Do y'all agree with Steve Smith and what he has to say? But also, my other question for y'all: top 20 wide receiver duos. Can the Ravens join those duos? And let me rephrase that first question real quick because that didn't make no sense. So, when the Steve Smith comment, does Rashad Bateman not go over the middle? What y'all think? So I definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. As always, I love being here with y'all. If for some reason, you can't comment here, be sure to comment below. Comment below. If you here, you can comment. Make you an account. Make you an account. Make you a no name. I don't care. Make you an account and comment and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are listening or tuning in elsewhere, be sure to favorite this podcast. Give me a part of your queue and make sure that we with each other every week, okay? Make sure we with each other every single week. As always, you can always watch or listen to Flock Nation Speaks, watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, your favorite podcasting platforms. Flock Nation Speaks is on all of them. But as always, definitely hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys on the next video, on the next podcast. Probably stop saying it. Anyway, I will see y'all later. I definitely hope you guys enjoy.